What's up, everyone? Good evening. Although that is a phrase actually that I've thought a lot about this week, to be honest. Not a fan of it. But what I really need is some sort of explanation, and I've not been bothered to look it up. So if someone could actually answer this, then please, that'd be great. But what does the phrase "good evening" mean? Because you say it and you think, oh yeah, good evening. You normally say it, when you greet somebody and it's evening. Oh, good evening. But what does that mean? Are you saying it's a good evening, or are you saying, oh, I hope it's a good evening? But surely it's up to you to make it a good evening. Well, I was thinking, wouldn't it make sense to say it if you've had an evening and the evening's been good? It's, yeah, good evening. Good evening. You say, oh, good day. That was a good day. It was a solid day. It was a good evening. Good evening. I don't know. I had a day early in the week I got a bit mad thinking about that. So we won't stay there for too long. But yeah, tell me in the comments or message me privately. Try and clear that up for me if you know what the phrase "good evening" really means and why we say it. But yeah, let me think what I've been doing this week that might be of interest to you. Today, I got my second COVID jab today at 5 p.m. It's very quick. So basically, I'm now just enjoying the calm before the nausea and the possible shivers, and the other fun common side effects. So just going to enjoy this evening, and tomorrow is likely going to be spent in bed. So I thought I'd try and get the video in before then. I should say that today is Saturday, the 13th of November 2021. Just for the record, I think I normally start by saying that. Well, I say normally, the last two ones of these that I've done. And it's been a good week for me. I'd say the standout feature of the last week or 10 days, but mostly it's kind of become daily this week, is my consumption of the work and the videos of Christopher Hitchens. For those of you who don't know, he was a famous orator, writer, author, columnist, journalist, public speaker. Although that is kind of an orator, isn't it? Yeah. He was very critical of sort of religion and totalitarianism and any kind of dictatorships. He was very politically active, I think, and was very left wing. He was originally, I think, a socialist. He sort of detached himself from that label, I think, I don't know, at some point in the 70s or 80s perhaps. But he remained, I think, nominally a Marxist for his whole life. And I've just been watching a lot of his videos really this week, and I would urge anyone watching to go and do the same if you haven't already. As I say, he died, I think, almost exactly 10 years ago. I think I've written down the anniversary. I think it's the 15th of December 2011 he died, so it's almost exactly 10 years. And I think what do I enjoy about Christopher Hitchens? Well, I think it's got to be his wit. His wit, was so sharp and precise and intelligent, infectious, the cheeky sort of grin that he would do when he knew he said something funny, when he made an intelligent quip. It's just that little grin in his eyes. I love it. I love people who have that, to their personality, or have that in their personality. And he had that in spades. I think it was Sam Harris who said, shortly after he sadly passed away, Sam Harris said that Christopher Hitchens had, I think it was, more wit and more charm than numerous civilizations that have existed. And I think he's probably correct in that statement. And I think, like with any public figure or writer or philosopher that I've ever read or consumed. I think there are things about, not things, there are beliefs that they hold, positions that they take, attitudes that they embody that I agree with, and some I don't agree with. I think that's pretty normal. I think it's rare. I think it maybe should be rare that you find a person that you believe everything that they say. I think that's dangerous. You know, I think with Christopher Hitchens, his championing his championing of free thought, of secularism, you know, secularism being kind of freedom of religion basically, and not having kind of separating church and state, I think it's a good idea. I think it's smart. I think it's right. You know, and you know, I think that as a history student, you have to just take a cursory glance at history to look at past civilizations and societies, and you think they were quite religiously tyrannical, and that I don't think that's good. I don't think that's a good thing. I think tyranny of any kind is abhorrent, as Christopher Hitchens said on numerous occasions, and fought his whole life, you know, to promote this idea, this message. Even though it seems quite sort of obvious, you know, as he said when he was alive, and it's still true now, you know, countries like North Korea, they live in a totalitarian state as far as we know. And there are lots of other countries around the world where people don't live in democracies, and they don't have freedom of religion, freedom of sexual orientation, freedom of speech. And so all the things Christopher Hitchens kind of lived for and embodied and kind of promoted, the values he espoused, you know, his moral principles, I think, and his political principles, I think, are still absolutely relevant today, if not more so. And so then I would urge anyone watching to go and check out his content. And I've got a couple of his books now. One which I'm reading at the moment, I started it recently, is his memoir, which is called Hitch 22. It's a play on Catch 22, which I've not actually read, so sorry, I haven't read that. I know it's a kind of a classic, but I will get around to it eventually. It's one of those books I feel like is too much of a classic, and I'm a bit scared of it, but I'm sure I'll get to it eventually. But yeah, this is his memoir, which it's quite sad but poetic in a way, that he wrote it, I think, you know, in the last couple of years of his life, although he obviously didn't know that. And it was actually on his book tour for this memoir that, you know, he got seriously ill and found out that he had esophageal cancer, which then killed him about 18 months after that. But it's a fascinating book so far. Like, you know, he's a very, very interesting man, and he writes superbly, really. He's very eloquent, and I even found that, having just read 28 pages of his work, that it's already improved my writing, you know. Like I did an essay that I submitted this week, and you know, anything where you've been listening to somebody speak or whatever, and you're kind of reading and it's in their voice, or you're writing and it's in their voice. And that's kind of how I've always, I think, improved my writing, is like, you know, I'll be reading a lot of a particular person and it will just infuse what I write, you know, and it improves it, I think, you know. As he said, you know, it's something I've always believed, is that to become a good writer, you have to be a good reader. And I think that's something he and I have in common. You know, something he said early on in the book was that, you know, he started reading from a very early age, and yeah, he says, I was committed for life to having some sort of reading matter within reach at all times, and was always to be ahead of my class in reading age, which I also sway thing, which, you know, I also experienced. I read from a very early age, and I was always kind of ahead of, yeah, my supposed reading age. You know, but yeah, so I've got that, and I've also got his other book, which is called Letters to a Young Contrarian, which I'm very excited to read once I finish this. I think it's just it's a almost like a Hitchens hand guide on how to be a good rebel, basically how to be a free-thinking agent, how to challenge convention. But also I haven't read it, so I don't know that. But that's, I think, what it's about, and the title would seem to suggest that. But yeah, that's been a very big part of my week. Just watching a lot of long form interviews with him, debates, conversations. Excuse me. And yeah, I've got a glass of whiskey as a kind of I don't know, as a sign of respect to him. Also, yeah, my best friend got me a bottle of is it bourbon? Yeah, bourbon for my birthday last week. So this is to you, Miles. Lovely. I mean, whiskey isn't like nice in the same way that juice is nice, or that like sweets are nice, or whatever. But you know, I think it's got a kick to it that you have to get used to. And I think it's like any alcohol. Like, I don't think anyone really likes alcohol when they first try anything, like beer or wine or whatever, even gin. But you develop a taste. You develop a taste. You acquire a taste for these things, and I think whiskey is the same, even though it might take people a bit longer. But yeah, that's for you, Hitch. Although diehard Hitchens fans will be sad that I'm not drinking Johnny Walker Black, which was his favourite whiskey. But I will eventually get a bottle of that and give it a go. But yeah, he was an incredible personality, and he's livened my week definitely, and made me smile a lot by watching his videos and seeing his charm and feeling his charm and feeling his intelligence and his passion and his nobility and his goodwill. His honor, and it's very, very inspirational. But other than that, I saw Russell Brand on Thursday evening, although I only managed to see half the show because I had to come back here I had a commitment, a work commitment in a way. I'd agreed to do some other tennis coaching, not really coaching, but like take a session, and I had to come back for it. But anyway, I only saw half the show. He's on his 33 tour, he's called it, and he's touring around England doing, I guess it is stand up, but it's kind of a lot more than that. It's very wholesome, very holistic sort of. He touches on politics, on spirituality, on addiction, mental health, COVID, linking it all together and having excellent moments of audience participation, kind of, being really present, which I think is key to any successful performance, of any kind, whether you're a musician, an actor, or a comic, or whatever. I think that, you have to be in the moment. You have to be alive and awake and alert to whatever's going on in your immediate surrounding. It's the same even with socializing. It's any behavior where you're having to interact with other people, other beings, to harvest the most out of it, to achieve the most connection. I think you have to be present, and I've believed that for a long time. Not even believed it. I've known that to be true for a long time, and he definitely embodies that very, very humbly, very nobly, very empathetically, and very creatively. He's very quick, very sharp, and warm. And obviously very funny. And he's very self-aware, very self-effacing. Of course, with him, there's always going to be an element of that kind of messiah complex. He wants attention. He wants people to like him, to follow him. But I think he's got a good heart, and I was saying to a lot of people, if you get the chance to go and see Russell Brand, if you look it up and he's doing a show relatively near you, I would 100% recommend that you go and see him, because you'll enjoy it a lot more than you think you will. And you might have preconceived ideas about, Russell Brand, he's this or he's that. But trust me, he's a lot more than you think. And he'll touch on things that will resonate with you 100%. you know, I think the theme of his tour at the moment is obviously the last sort of 18 months with COVID and suffering, with people suffering as a result of that. And, you know, if you're watching this, you've been alive during COVID, almost certainly. And so, you know, you would definitely benefit, I think, from going to see him, even if you just enjoy it, you just laugh and whatever. There's something in his shows for everyone. I think that's why he's so popular. There's something within him that I think all people could connect to if only they opened themselves up to that. But yeah, I saw him in Bournemouth. I think I went to Bournemouth only once. No, I've been to Bournemouth a couple of times actually for various things, and not really walked around it an awful lot. So I just went down to the beach and was just listening to. Wow, I was actually listening to my next single, what was going to be my first ever single. It's called Another Side of Paradise. It's going to be released at some point hopefully the next month. So I was listening to that because I got the final mix back for that, as well as other songs. But it was very lovely to sit on the beach as the sun set, you know. But yeah, wow, I think this has been quite a momentous sort of video. I haven't really let up. It's been quite a continuous flow. And I was thinking, I don't have anything really to read, but I was thinking maybe, should I play a song? I don't know how to fit that in the frame. Could always just move the camera. We'll give that a go, shall we? Okay. Let's see. Cool, we all good? This one I wrote in the summer, towards the end of summer, and it's called Baker Street. So hope you enjoy it. Sat alone, watching old TV shows. I don't mind because you are here. In a way, we will be our friends. Always wondering why and how it ends. So come with me, we'll walk down Baker Street into the park where two old lovers meet. It all tumbles down. It all tumbles Good evening.